how are you going to do this album live? Are you going alone on tour or with a small band this time?
Nope, this is just me.
Just me?
Yep,
Okay,
just me.
Solo.
This is a solo tour I've done. As I said earlier, I've done lots of solo concerts before, and
You started off, isn't it, like a solo artist?
absolutely started off solo, supporting bands like Supertramp, and then I put together a band, recorded and toured with a band for years and years and years. I still have a band. We did a lot of shows last couple of years. In fact, the last 6 years we did a lot of band shows together. But I've also done a lot of solo tours, and all the songs, I'm sure without exception, I can do solo. I don't have a problem with that, because when I write them for solo performance. The way you record them obviously has to be slightly different, particularly the ones with orchestra. But I have no doubt that I will be able to put these across in the way that I wrote them and I meant to have them listened to.
You still like touring because you've seen the world twice, or maybe 4 times, maybe 100 times?
Well, there's a few places I haven't been to, but yes, I do. You know, and the great thing now is that for the last, I would say, at least 12, maybe 14, 15 years, I've been able to do what I wanted. There's a certain point when you are trying to become successful, you accept everything going, you have to do everything that's going. If somebody said to me, you've got to do 20 interviews tomorrow, and I say, right, I'm going to do them. But as I became more successful and I became more aware of the energy that I had, you just can't do that. You know, you cannot go all over the world just doing everything that's asked of you. So with a good management company behind me, we just basically cherry-picked the things that I could do, wanted to do. And I mean, now after 30 years, I'm in a position where I'm only really doing things I want to do. So I'm very happy to tell you I want to do this interview, and I want to be talking to people all over the world on the internet.
Wasn't it, and with your last album, you didn't do this like in this way, or you had just had something like, please cut it out or something?
No, I've always been extremely aware of the value of promotion. So I've always done this, but I've kind of cut it back a bit. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Hey, 5 Past Dreams. That's a really nice song, and it's a sort of follow-up of Lady in Red. They say in the bio. Do you think it yourself? Was it really meant that way when you wrote it?
Well, for years I've wondered what happened to the couple in the song Lady in Red. After they've had this argument, they've gone to a party, he's looked across the room at her and say, wow, who is... Oh, it's my wife. I didn't know she had a dress that colour. God, what has she done to her hair? Because men are not like that. We're hopeless at remembering even what our partners have worn the night before. Unless it's something very revealing, in which case men are like dogs. We do remember those things. Oh, yeah. So I kind of was fascinated on what happened next. Again, it's like a film in my mind. At the end of Lady in Red, they start dancing together and talking and saying, I'm really sorry. He says, I have been working too hard. I haven't spent enough time with you. And she says, well, I guess I've spent too much time with the kids or doing my thing. Let's get away for a weekend together sometime. And then 5 Past Dreams is the next part, about 2 hours later, where he's had a few more drinks. He's feeling a little drunk, but he says, I couldn't care less. I'm not going home yet. This moment is too precious to miss. And it's dawn. The dawn is coming up. The lights are beginning to go out all over the city. They have a half bottle of Veuve Clicquot champagne left in an ice bucket. There's a piano. She's wearing a beautiful long kind of 30s style dress. He's wearing a tux with the tie open. And they're just talking and just basically finding each other again.
That's the way you write songs, because you tell it really like a film, a story.
Yeah, it's very powerful for me. Right from... In fact, one of the defining moments in my personal career was when I wrote a song called Spanish Train, which was way back in 1974 or 5. And it was a story about God and the devil playing cards. And the devil cheats and wins, you know, and they're gambling for the souls of the dead. And from that moment on, I thought, God, I like this style. It's something I can touch, I can see, I can feel it. If I can see something, I can write a song about it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I could write a song about this microphone. The number of people who've talked into it, how perhaps they would meet somewhere in a street and they start talking over a cup of coffee, a man and a woman saying, I did this interview. We just say, oh, that's interesting. I did want to... You know what I mean? Your imagination is your road to freedom.
Yeah, okay. Is that really the subject of this album then? In that way, you're telling me?
To a certain extent, yes. I think they always say, you know, the cheapest way to travel is just dream about it. And again, anything is possible in your imagination. Right. For years I've been a what-if person, even going back to Spaceman Came Travelling. What if the Star of Bethlehem was a spacecraft from another galaxy coming to acknowledge the birth of Jesus Christ? That's the great thing about also what I think I do, is I offer a different slant, a different emotional way of looking at things. We live in a very tired, difficult world. It's full of horror. We get too much news information. I would urge everybody listening to this, for example, take a week out and don't buy a newspaper. Don't look at the news. And you say to yourself, have I missed anything here? Do I feel better off for it? And I think usually, you know, the human brain is a sponge, can take in as much information, really, but at a certain point you get overkill, overload, and another suicide bombing in Jerusalem, and you look at the pictures, oh Christ, that's terrible. But your emotional response, your compassion ratio begins to drop. You just can't take it anymore. So
especially when it happens every day, it's like if you could get immune for it.
Well, you see, unfortunately, terrorists know this. To get the front page headlines, you've got to come up with something more drastic every day. Otherwise, it gets relegated to the back pages. And this is a cynical way of looking at things, but unfortunately it's true, because I know for a fact that certainly in the north of Ireland, terrorists would time bombs to go off on Saturday lunchtime, so it would get the Saturday evening news, the Sunday papers, and back into the Mondays. You know, I mean, this is cynical beyond belief, but it's true. So it's sensory overload, and I think what I like to do is, I'm not offering a sugary alternative. I offer a realistic alternative to life, but there's always hope, there's always inspiration, there's always people around you who can help you find that extra thing inside you to say, yes, I want to be happy in my life. The last song, for example, it's called Read My Name. This is me saying we are on this planet. The planet Earth has been here for millions of years and will continue to be. Whether you and I are born or not, it makes no difference. It's still here. But this is our chance to look at it and see something. You know, air travel being so cheap as it is nowadays, you can see parts of the world. You don't even have to in the old days, leaving your village to the local town was a big journey. We're a mobile society, and do something with your life. Do something positive. Leave something behind you. That's what I believe in anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of people just sitting at home and just watching television all the time and just doing nothing. But yeah, that's a cool statement, because I really hope to try and make something of my life also. So.
Yeah, I mean, we all have.
Maybe it sounds dramatic, but
no, not at all. No, we all have limitations. Not everybody can become whatever their dream is. The CEO of a major company. Not everybody thinks, well, I can be the head of Philips, for example, or else I'm going to run Heineken beer or Amstel or somewhere, or I'm going to be the greatest footballer that Holland has ever had. You have to recognize your own limitations, but within your own limitations, you've got to do the best you possibly can. If you are a fantastic cook, well, at home, let's say, if you ever had a dream of running a restaurant, say, do you know, I think I'm going to give that a try. Yeah. The worst thing of all is to sit down with your grandchildren on your knee and say, I could have been the world's greatest chef. I could have been the most fantastic singer. You know, just give it a try. And I've always felt that if you fail honorably, at least you've tried.
What if you weren't a musician? What did you want to become?
It's difficult to say, to be perfectly honest, because ever since I was growing up, I grew up in what people thought was a privileged background, but nothing could be further from the truth. My family had no money, just this imagination, this dream. My father had a dream of owning an Irish castle, and there's lots of them, and most of the roofs have fallen in on most of them. So when we bought this place, in fact, it was my grandfather that bought it, because we just didn't have the cash for it. When we moved in when I was 12, it had no electricity, no water, no furniture, no heat, and it was tough. It was very, very tough. And we...
In Britain, wasn't it?
In Ireland, in the southeast of Ireland. And just with a lot of hard work, we turned it into a small family hotel, and that's where I started singing. Okay, so I suppose the two things I did learn quite well, not only back then, but because I spent my life in hotels, is the hotel trade is interesting. It's a sort of form of entertainment business where you try to present the best possible to people who are only with you for a short time. Similarly, concerts, you know, a 2.5 hour, 3 hour concert for me is an opportunity to get people in there, show them respect, and let them go home dancing on air, you know, because they've had a really good time.
Yeah. Okay. Did you, because you've traveled all the world and you've been to America and Japan and you name it all, do you take some musical influences from those countries with you?
Do you know, I've always regarded myself as a citizen of the world. In fact, I'm a very multinational background. I'm not Irish or English or anything. I'm a combination of those things.
You were born in Argentina, isn't it?
Absolutely, born in Argentina. I don't think I would bring anything specific from my travels, although 2 years ago, when I was in Lebanon for the second or third visit, I was very fascinated by the music there, and I did a song called Lebanese Night, which did involve those kind of traditional Lebanese instruments, and that became a major hit record down in the Arab world, and #1 in many countries. And it was a combination of me and a local girl singer from Lebanon called Elissa. And that was a very interesting thing to try and do. But when I am like in Russia, for example, I listen to the kind of music that's the current. What strikes me as very odd, actually, is that countries which have such a rich tradition in their own kind of music, that the modern musicians want to sound like pop singers from America. You know, it's a pity, because I think something new will come from the traditional kind of pop music background, but mixed with something absolutely different. I think Peter Gabriel tries to do this with his sort of real world music. But generally speaking, I keep on taking the universal view, which is that we are all exactly the same. If you strip away a man's skin, underneath we are almost identical. The way the heart works, the kidneys, the livers, the legs, we are almost identical. And that's something that I bring with me every day when I travel the world, thinking, this is a planet, and why people fight each other on it is ridiculous and is a mystery to me. We should be able to coexist with the sure knowledge that none of us are going to be here in 120 years from now. Why can't we just take it at face value and say, this is where we are, we're going to make the best of it.
Yeah, that's a typical thing. Yeah, that's so difficult, but a great statement. Okay, thank you very much. What can we expect from the coming months? You will be in June here in Holland, isn't it?
Yes, I shall be starting a European tour in May and carrying through into Holland in June with the release of The Road to Freedom. During the summer, I'm sure I'll be doing more shows, and in the autumn, I'll be back in England. I just think, the future is so glittering and beautiful in every respect for most people, to take every chance that's coming and basically enjoy yourself. And I really now feel that I'm only doing this because I enjoy it. So my future, hopefully in the next few months, will be one of enjoyment. And I look forward to seeing many of my fans here in Holland at my concerts in the beautiful month of June.